Have you ever stopped to think about how one single event in history could literally change everything? I mean, everything. The food we eat, the way entire continents look, so much of our modern world can be traced back to this one specific moment. So, let's get into it. Let's unpack how one single voyage really did change the world forever.
Okay, so let me ask you this. What do corn and potatoes have in common? I bet your first thought is, well, they're food, right? They're staples on dinner plates all over the planet. And yeah, you'd be right. But they also share this absolutely wild, world-altering history that most of us never even consider.
Get this, for pretty much all of human history, these incredibly common foods were totally unknown to anyone living in Europe, Africa, or Asia. Just try for a second to imagine Ireland without potatoes, or Italy without tomatoes. It's almost impossible, right? But that was the reality. The planet was, for all intents and purposes, two completely separate biological worlds, totally isolated from each other.
And that total separation ended at a very specific moment, 1492. When Christopher Columbus set sail, he wasn't just looking for a new trade route to Asia. He accidentally became the catalyst, the spark that connected these two worlds that had been developing on their own for millennia. For the very first time, the old world of Afro-Eurasia and the new world of the Americas finally met.
You can really get a sense of the mindset behind this whole thing from Columbus's own journal. Listen to his words. "I took possession of them." See, this wasn't just some friendly visit or a mission of discovery. It was an act of claiming land, resources, and people for economic and political gain. And that set the stage for this massive and often violent transfer of, well, everything. And this huge transfer of stuff, it actually has a name, the Columbian Exchange. It's a formal-sounding term for a really simple but profound idea. After 1492, there was this huge movement of plants, animals, and, tragically, diseases back and forth between the two hemispheres. And this exchange would go on to reshape literally everything: ecology, farming, and culture on a truly global scale. Now, it's super important to remember this was a two-way street. The Americas gave the rest of the world these incredible crops like corn, tomatoes, and potatoes. Going the other way, Europe brought over domesticated animals like horses, which completely changed life for many Native American tribes, and cattle, which created whole new economies. But they also brought diseases that the native peoples had absolutely no immunity to.
Let's start with the impact of the food. For Europe, Africa, and Asia, these new crops from the Americas were a total game changer. They were often way more nutritious and packed with more calories than what people were used to. This fueled a massive population boom, especially in the Old World, which in turn provided the manpower that would eventually fuel the Industrial Revolution. It's all connected.
But, and this is a huge but, for all the amazing agricultural benefits that the Old World gained, this exchange also unleashed an unimaginable biological disaster on the indigenous peoples of the Americas. This is the dark, tragic side of the story, and it's one we absolutely cannot ignore.
Honestly, there are no words more powerful than those from someone who saw it with his own eyes. This account from Bartolomé de las Casas, a Spanish historian at the time, just captures the horrifying scale of it all. Invisible killers like smallpox and measles just ripped through the Americas. It led to what was probably the single largest demographic disaster in all of human history.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, it's that after 1492, our world was irreversibly and fundamentally altered. For better and for worse, the connection that was forged between the two hemispheres is what created the modern, globalized world we live in today. There was simply no going back.
Which really leaves us with one final massive question to think about. When you look around you, at the food you eat, at the global economy, at the very makeup of our populations, how much of it is a direct result of this one single exchange that happened over 500 years ago? The answer, when you really start to dig into it, is just staggering.